Hey guys, in this video I'd like to share some tips and tricks on how to replace your CPU. I replaced my old Ryzen 2600 with the new Ryzen 5 5600X, and I ran into some issues initially, but I was able to eventually resolve it. So I'm going to share with you, and hopefully this helps you out. So the first thing you want to prepare for is to purchase a thermal paste. These things are really cheap. They're less than 10 bucks, and you would need it if you ever do need to reinstall your old CPU. Every time you remove or install the CPU, you would need to use some thermal paste. The other thing is to work on a wooden floor ideally. Avoid carpets as they cause a static buildup, and you don't want to have any static buildup while working on electronic components. So the issue that I ran into was when I installed the CPU and I powered up the unit, the lights were flickering and nothing happened. So after several tries, I realized that I was on an older BIOS version. So what I had to do was install the old CPU again, which you do need the thermal paste here. And then the system boot up, and I had to download the BIOS as shown here. So you will need to look up your motherboard version, and then find the description usually tells you which version supports the CPU that you have, and then just follow the instructions, and you have to download the BIOS on a USB and install it. After I did that, it worked surprisingly. So the motherboard, a lot of times if you have an older unit, the motherboard is usually not compatible with the newer CPUs, so that's something you have to do. Also, you want to make sure your motherboard is compatible with the CPU in its socket. So usually when you are looking at CPUs, they'll tell you what socket it's compatible with. In my case, the Ryzen 5600X is compatible with the AM4 socket, which supports Ryzen 2000, 3000, 4000, and 5000 series. And yeah, it's really easy to remove this fan. You just have to unscrew the 4 screws around there. And then once it's all unscrewed, you have to rotate it a little and lift it up. There will be a little resistance because the thermal paste holds the heatsink fan to the CPU itself. So apply a little force and just lift it up. And yeah, that's the main thing is the BIOS upgrade that I did. And once you have that running, here I'm showing you how to replace it. So align the CPU. There's a little chip on the bottom left. Just make sure you align that with how the old one looks, and it should be pretty straightforward. Another thing to note is behind the motherboard there is a bracket, and every time you unscrew the heatsink, the bracket at the back gets loose. So you will definitely want to be aware of that. Do not let it just fall around the computer. Make sure to hold it at the back if you're unscrewing or screwing in your heatsink fan. Here I'm just showing how the BIOS upgrade is. It takes maybe like 10 minutes, but definitely the power needs to be on during this process. And yeah, that's it. It's a pretty simple process. You just have to know the steps and have things prepared. Again, have a thermal paste, work on a wooden floor if possible, or use a grounding cable, and check the version of your BIOS. If all those things are taken care of, the CPU replacement should be no problem. So yeah, I hope this video helps you out. Please leave a comment if you have any suggestions, and let me know what you think.